Hey y'all, Dr. Keisha Green here, and I wanted to welcome you to the first lesson for the Culturally Responsive Teaching 101 course. This lesson will center around the topic of diversity. In this lesson, we will go over how diversity can be defined, types of diversity, and we'll go over 3 strategies that will aid you with keeping diversity at the forefront of your teaching practice. By the end of this lesson, learners should be able to define what diversity means, connect the information gained to their own teaching practice, describe 3 diversity strategies, and evaluate their own teaching practice and understand how to grow it to be more centered around diversity. When you hear the term diversity, what are your initial thoughts? How would you define diversity? I want you to pause and think about how you would answer these 2 questions. As you keep your responses in mind, we are going to begin this lesson by looking at 2 schools, School A and School B. At School A, the teachers, students, and school staff are all the same race and/or ethnicity and share very similar cultural backgrounds. The school population is comprised of staff and students that all come from varying religions, have varying socioeconomical statuses, have varying ages, and hold various gender identities. At School B, the teachers, students, and school staff are all from different races and/or different ethnicities. They come from varying religions, have varying socioeconomical statuses, have varying ages, and hold various gender identities. After hearing about these 2 schools, I want you to answer the following question. Which school do you consider to be diverse? I want you to take a moment to think about your answer and to think about the reasons for how you arrived at this answer. With your response in mind, let's look at a potential answer for the question asked. You could have answered that both schools contain diversity or that both schools are diverse. You might be wondering if they are both diverse, and if so, how are they diverse? Or, with your answer, you could see that there was diversity at both schools. Initially, when hearing the term diversity, we might think that diversity only exists in a group containing people from different races and/or ethnicities. However, diversity goes well beyond the existence of solely racial and ethnic differences. In the scenario of School A and School B, both schools hold diversity because the staff and students have characteristics and demographics outside of race and ethnicity that are different or varied. While School B did hold more racial and ethnic diversity, School A also held diversity, which is seen through the staff and students having various ages, socioeconomical status, religions, and gender identities. All of these are considered to be different types of diversity. The term diversity refers to the existence of different ideas, forms, or types. In the classroom, this means that students can hold differing ideas, beliefs, cultural backgrounds, races, or understandings, and all these aspects would mean that diversity is present in the learning environment. It is important for educators to try to not pigeonhole diversity to only being the presence of differing races and/or ethnicities. We should try to consider all the different features and characteristics of students, as well as what we ourselves bring into the learning environment. Diversity exists in a variety of forms, and we as educators should hold awareness of this. The following can be seen as some of the different types of diversity categories: ability or disability, age, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, languages spoken, socioeconomic status, cultural background, race, ethnicity, beliefs, thoughts, and overall individual experiences. Now, I want you to pause and take time to think about the school you might work at in the future. How will the staff and students reflect a spectrum of diversity that might include each of the diversity categories that have been mentioned? What differences and similarities might exist between the students and school personnel for each of the diversity categories? When we look back to School B from the earlier scenario, we found that the types of diversity present included religion, language abilities, race, socioeconomic status, ethnicity, and gender identity. There might have been other types of diversity present at the school, but in the description, these were the items explicitly mentioned. Again, keep in mind that diversity does not just include race and/or ethnicity. School A also contained diversity. The types of diversity that existed at School A included religion, language abilities, socioeconomic status, and gender identity. As an educator, it is important to remember that while a class or school may not contain racial or ethnic diversity, there are other types of diversity that might be present and that the students might possess. It is important for educators to work towards ensuring that the differences students bring into the learning environment are warmly accepted rather than discriminated against or rejected. Students need to feel as though they belong, are welcomed, accepted, and most importantly, they need to feel safe in order to be successful along their educational journey. If students do not feel safe in their learning environment, they will not feel comfortable enough to be pushed outside of their comfort zone to learn and grow socially, academically, or behaviorally. After all, it is the space outside of one's comfort zone where extended learning can occur. If students do not feel safe to access this space, then true learning is challenged and academic growth can be stunted. Therefore, it is important for educators to take the time to establish a learning environment that allows each student to be their unique self. Let's learn 3 strategies that will aid you with fostering a learning environment that embraces and welcomes diversity. The first strategy is to hold awareness of the diversity that exists in your class. You should take the time to uncover and hold awareness of not just the racial and or ethnic diversity of your students, but to also uncover the types or categories of diversity that each individual student brings with them to the learning environment. It is important when you are looking to conduct a learning activity or implement a teaching practice, you take the time to think about how the diversity of the student or your own diversity might play a part in how successful a given method or activity might be. All of your students will bring with them a variety of diverse characteristics that will work to influence the respective learning environment, as well as the experiences of the individual students and their peers. By holding awareness about the diversity of students and using that insight to inform lessons and learning activities, it should allow for students to feel safer and more welcomed in the class. The second strategy is to find ways to embrace the diversity of your students. To embrace something means to accept something in its entirety. In the classroom, embracing diversity means that the full spectrum of diversity that students and staff members bring with them will be fully accepted and welcomed. Students want to feel as though they belong and are accepted for being their own unique selves. As educators, we must foster a sense of belonging for students through ensuring that our practice centers around embracing diversity. In front of you, you will see 5 strategies that center around aiding you with embracing diversity in the classroom. The first strategy is to foster discussions around the similarities and differences that exist in the class. Create opportunities for your students to engage in discussions around the similarities and differences that they all hold with one another. The second strategy is in lessons or learning materials, try to include varying perspectives or use images of varied communities and people that showcase a range of diverse characteristics. The learning materials and the lessons that you plan should reflect the diversity that exists within your students. As such, it calls for you to use materials that will showcase the diversity and will present varying perspectives and varying diverse characteristics. The third strategy is to plan activities that encourage students to challenge what they know and encourage them to see through various viewpoints that differ from their own. It's important for students to challenge what they know and to be encouraged to take on differing viewpoints from their own. We want to aid our students with being able to see through the perspectives of others. The fourth strategy is to model for students how to engage in conversations with others that have differing perspectives or understandings. It's important for students to develop the skills to communicate and engage in discourse with those who hold differing perspectives or differing understandings from their own. To help your students develop these skills, as an educator, it calls for you to model and demonstrate for your students how to engage in a conversation with others who hold differing perspectives or different understandings. The fifth strategy is to invite students or families or parents or various community members to come in and share about a holiday or tradition. Try to welcome community members and family members or parents and students themselves to share about their cultural background and the traditions that they and their families hold. The third diversity strategy is to create ample opportunities for students to share or teach others about their own diversity. Students are the experts about the diversity they individually bring to a classroom. As an educator, you do not always have to be the one to do the teaching. You should try to find ways to allow your students to teach and to share so that they can learn from one another. By giving students the opportunity to share about who they are and the different characteristics they possess, it will communicate to the students that they are encouraged and open to be their unique selves. In front of you, you will see 5 strategies that will aid you with creating opportunities for allowing students to teach about their own diversity. The first strategy is to use think, pair, share activities that allow students to formulate their own thoughts before being able to pair with a peer and share with one another. Through Think, Pair, Share, students will be able to engage with each other on a smaller scale and will be able to engage in discussion around their own diversity with their peers. The second strategy is to allow students to engage in conversations with peers about what makes them unique or similar. Students should be given the opportunity to engage in a conversation with their peers around the characteristics that make them similar and the characteristics that make them individually unique. The third strategy is allow students to give an all about me presentation to the class. They should be able to share information about themselves with their peers. Through giving students the opportunity to share to their peers about who they are, it allows students to give insight about their own backgrounds, their own characteristics, and their own cultural diversity. The fourth strategy is to create student choice assignments, giving students the flexibility to choose the topic or the subject that they want to explore. Whenever possible, try to have students choose the topics they might want to focus on or the subjects that might want to focus on for assignments and allow them to have more input in the assignments that they partake in. The fifth strategy is to establish time during the class or school day where students are able to openly share about their home life or activities or things that they are interested in. Try to create time throughout the school day or throughout the class that allows them to openly share with their peers what they are interested in or what they might be doing over the weekend or throughout the week. Through creating opportunities for students to teach about their own diversity, it will communicate to the students that you accept them for being their open and unique true selves. As an educator, to grow our own teaching practice, it is important to engage in self reflection. Now that you have completed this lesson, take time to think and reflect about the information gained and to think about how you can begin to create more opportunities to foster a learning environment in the future that celebrates and welcomes diversity. On the next slide, you will find the references that were used to shape this lesson, and at the end of this video, you will find the discussion board number 2 question. So once you are done with your self-reflection, please continue on and be sure to answer the discussion board question in the comment section. I thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next lesson video.